Well, praise the Lord, friends. Listen, I know I'm Pastor Bush. For some of you, I'm Bishop. For some of you who think of me other ways, you may say, some of you actually call me Dr. Bush. Some of you just call me Bush. And I love the names. I love sometimes the identities as they transfix who I am in your life. And it's meaningful sometimes, especially when you've been a servant and you've been a contributor and you've been someone who really enjoys what they do because it empowers people, it reaches people, it touches people. Today, I have with me a very distinguished gentleman. And when I say distinguished, I need you to hear me because growing up, I had this thing where if it was someone that my parents honored or revered from a distance because they didn't have personal, up-close relationship, it automatically became someone that I was enamored to as well. And as a young boy, it transfixed itself in my conscience in such a way about this distinguished gentleman that one day I had hoped to meet him. And I never will forget, I met him first at a Civic Center rally for the community. And my sister had talked about him. She met him in school. She was very, respectful of this guy's reputation in a way that she didn't really talk about a lot of other people. So that was another thing that I really revered. But I sat in the audience that night and I listened to him talking. I thought for a moment I was listening to Jesse Jackson while I was looking at him right there in the Civic Center in New Ellerton. And I got a chance to meet him, and I got a chance to do the closing prayer, and he said to me, "You got something, young man," and I don't know if he'll ever remember that. But that night, I went home on 10 because someone that was revered in the community saw something in me. And so to this day, I've always held the same reverence, the same respect, the same honor captive in my heart regarding this man. And I've watched him from a distance. I've worked with him up close. The impact he's had on the community, yeah, that's where we are. This CSRA community has probably never had so much of an embrace in stature, eagle in nature, patriarchal in figure, as the impact of this man and the many hats he's worn throughout our social stratum, especially here in the CSRA. And so I'm gonna stop talking because I don't want to put him in a situation where he feels like, well, Bishop now, but this is what he means to me. And I'm sure that some of you, especially in his constituency, have been impacted in the same way. But this man has been a servant at heart all of my life. He and his wife, his family, I'm so grateful to them, his wife, Beverly, and today I sit in the presence of my ego, patriarchal figure, the renowned, the honorable, Bill Clyburn. Sir, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Man, I'm so honored to have you. You just don't know. When I get around you, the little boy June comes out again. I don't need to be the old 65-year-old. I just need to be where I can listen because I learned so much from afar, even when you didn't know I was looking at the consistency in how you approach the struggle of servanthood. That's what I want to talk about some today.
Wow. Well, I tell you, I saw in you what I saw a long time ago. And it's easy to get emotional about it. But let me tell you what you mean to me. And let me tell you what I call you and what I feel about you. I believe that you are a pastor, you are a bishop, and above all, you are a believer. And listen, you are paying your dues, and we appreciate that. I've been committed all my life of helping. From a child, that's all I knew was to treat people the way I wish to be treated. and to be a believer in God, to be a believer. And so through all my stumbling, I still have faith and confidence that God is going to help us through all of our trying times. And so you as a young man meant a whole lot to me, because that was one of the things that was troubling me when I was even younger, was to try to get younger people to see their value.
Wow.
And to contribute. And not only I saw you that way, but there were others that saw you that way. And so I'm emotional about it, but I'll get over it as we talk.
Well, sir, I want you to know something. It's amazing that I can remember there used to be a talk about you, I think first as a coach,
Yes,
then as a principal.
that's great.
And I had hoped that you were going to be in one of those positions by the time I came up. But each time I rose, you moved. And then finally, when I got a chance to meet you as a politician, oh my God, it was such a commendable memory. It's such a commendable memory that the impact bleeds to now. Because, again, you may not realize this, but sir, you have planted seeds that have harvested far, far above probably what you could ever anticipate.
Absolutely.
And I'm so grateful
Absolutely.
for being one of them.
You know, Bishop Bush, I always wanted to be a business person. I wanted to own a business. I wanted to sell things because I saw my father, his little corner store, selling Mary Janes and Ginger Snaps.
Wow.
And Coca-Colas and collard greens and kindlings. Bishop, you may be too young to know what kindlings, that's what start fires.
No, no, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
Bishop ain't too young. I'm 65. I'm 65. I said, but you know what? I tell people all the time now, when I'm married, gas was 26 cents a gallon.
Oh, my goodness.
That's how, yes, sir. So that tells you a little bit about how long I've been around.
Yes.
When I'm married, so.
Well, I said, I'm going to have me a big store one of these days, and I'm going to sell some meats and some groceries, and all that. But I got a chance to go to college. I knew nothing about college. I am a first-year, first family graduate.
Really?
And I knew nothing about college. But I could run. I had a lot of speed and had a lot of strength.
You were well known,
yeah,
well
that's
documented.
exactly right. And went to Allen University and played ball there. People thought, I should have gone higher, but they weren't drafting back during that day.
Yes, sir.
They weren't drafting black athletes. Let's put it that way, unless it was one or two exceptionals from a northern school. And then I came to Aiken as a teacher coach, physical education and physical science. And so I coached and stayed in the system for 22 years. And this political thing, came about almost as just talking about it.
Now, wait a minute. You stayed in the system as a coach teacher for 22 years?
That's correct.
That's a career in and of itself.
Yes.
So let's stay there for a moment.
Okay.
Because as a teacher coach, one of the things that you learned how to do was really motivate and get involved with the gifts that people had that sometimes they did not know how to maximize.
Amen. I mean, that's what it was all about. I just saw so much talent, and it never came to fruition. And so I just wanted to be around.
But then you also saw a lot of the gifted and the potential that were connected to families that didn't know how to be an asset to their own children because of a variety of reasons.
You see, and that's part of the problem that we face today. You know, it's all about the foundation, and it's really about family, and it's about caring. You know, it's about your religious beliefs. It's about your work habits. It's just about training, and you know, we should never forget the struggle now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we should never forget the struggle. Because we had a lot of young people asking the questions, you know, why don't we have the finance that others have, you know? Why don't we have the properties? Well, there's a lot of reason why we don't have it, and it's not because you're inferior,
Right.
you know. It's because of the struggles and the burdens that have been placed upon you, and the ones that God has helped us work our way up, and we are still working our way up out of it.
Yes,
and that was one of the things that really drew me into politics. You know, people not, government was not being as fair as we thought it should have been. You know, paved roads, paved streets, and I brought it up in coming off the football field. And I had some of the kids that say, well, look, you know, you were talking about city council. Coach, why don't you run for city council?
So that's how it started.
That's exactly how it started over there at Aiken High School, walking off the field. And I had you know, some of the black athletes thought it was interesting. The white athletes were really pushing it. But I was being told, even before then, that there was no elected minorities. They weren't elected. And that was true. They were not doing that here in Aiken. And across the state and other places throughout the South. And so, long story short, I told the black athletes, I said, listen, and you're not going to believe this, Bishop, but I said, if you all cut your hair, they had these big afros.
Yes, sir.
Well, that was fine today, since we have learned that people have their beliefs and their choices and their rights, but it wasn't a popular thing. And so I told them, if you're going to help me, you're going to have to, you're knocking on doors and things, you're going to have to cut your hair back. You have to cut the thing down. And I told the white athletes, you know, they had the hair hanging down on their shoulders. And I told them if they cut their hair and get out and campaign for me, then let's try to run for city council. But I wasn't sure, because I had other people telling me that was not going to happen. But then, believe it or not, these kids cut their hair.
Yes, sir.
And so you had the black and white population, their parents were saying, look, if this guy can make my kid cut their hair
there you go.
and meet on a Saturday morning, I'm gonna vote for him.
There you go.
And so as a result of that, I was elected to Aiken City Council at large. It wasn't a district, you know, it was the whole city. And, you know, and so after I got elected, I got into some real deeper things, like people being treated fairly and given a chance to, you know, to display their talents.
So now you're getting a chance to see from an inside's perspective.
That's correct.
Why some of these benefits never make it to everyone. Why there was not the real practice of equity or equality throughout the community. You're getting a chance to really see the wheels that's turning to keep these things from happening.
Absolutely, and that is exactly what happened. You know, I was on the inside then. And I was at the table, and there were times when motions were made, or I would put forth a motion and couldn't get a second. So that was telling me then, you know, what was happening out in the community.
So were you the only black at that time on the?
Absolutely.
On the, so you were you the first black?
Yes.
So you were the first black elected council in Aiken County.
City council, yes.
Oh, wow, that's something.
Right.
And you were there alone as far as race is concerned.
Absolutely.
So now, even though you had the whites and the blacks vote you in, sitting on that board was something different.
Yes.
Because now you need strategies and you need some allies. You need some support.
Absolutely. You needed support, and you needed the support from those who need the help the most.
There you go.
You know, and it worked out. I stayed on city council, for 8 years, for 7 years, approaching the 8 years, and I ran for Aiken County Council because I wanted to work now for a bigger position, because of the entire county council, not just the city. And so, I got elected there, and I stayed there for 8 years.
So 8 in both.
That's right.
Can you remember one of the, during the, let's go back to the council for a moment. Do you remember one of those real trying moments or times or situations where you really had to just lock down and say, okay, I'm not gonna cower. I'm gonna do what I got to do to see this thing through. I'm sorry, I'm bishop now.
Absolutely.
Do you remember?
Absolutely. I think the bishop have picked up, that I'm really trying to easy walk some of these things.
Yeah.
But there's no question. There are times you just have to put your foot down and say, oh yeah, this is going to happen. We're going to have to go all the way with this. One was about your friend, Willa Hightower.
Okay.
There were no appointees on committees, on city committees. There were no black appointees. Like you had planning commissioners and so I wanted Willa Hightower, but we had a couple of councilmen didn't want that. But we held our guns, and I pushed it. I got some support from the community, and eventually Willa was put on the Planning and Zoning Commission, which was a voice there to the side where things were built and how they were built and who were going to build them. And so we needed that kind of input. And the second one was, and you're familiar with this, is Smith Hazer Recreation Center.
Yes.
It was just a small center there. And I thought there should be more capacity for activities for kids, and I wanted the gym there. And all kind of excuses came up. It wasn't safe, but we kept our shoulders to the wheel. And they have a nice gym, the big gym
Beautiful
that they have there right now. And a lot of people don't even know about that. A lot of constituents. And to me, that didn't matter of who put it there, as long as it got there and it was serving the needs of the people.
I watched it progressively come up.
Okay.
Over the span of my life, and it's a really admirable come up. And so, again, you guys ought to be commended for that. Thank you so much, because I remember that was the only place we really had to go all the way from New Orleans to actually play ball and do those things for a little while.
And we had such, I've got to say this, Bishop, we had such strong athletes from the New Orleans days.
Didn't you have, you know what, one of the discouragements I had, being a gifted athlete myself, I'm actually in the archives as a pitcher in New Orleans for I pitched a game, a shutout, I struck out 17, I pitched a no-hitter, I hit a triple, and scored the only run.
Wow.
We beat the other team 1-0.
I tell you, you don't brag. You should have told me this a long time ago. But you got the body for it.
No, sir. But I said that to say this. By the time I was coming along, the gifted athletes from New Orleans, Rudolph Bryant, Sylvester, there's so many. They had told us how difficult it was to make the transition because the coaches were familiar with the Aiken talent. So for us, by the time I was like, well, I'm going into something else. And that's why I shifted to art, and I shifted to singing and other things. I just said, man, I'm not going up there to struggle with the baseball. But I played baseball all the way up until then, and then I stopped.
Yeah.
Baseball, basketball. I was on the junior high basketball team as well. But I didn't transition because I didn't want to have to deal with that. And see, you left by that time. You weren't the coach.
Well, yeah, exactly. They had a lot of talent from down there.
A lot of talent.
Rudolph Bryant, who went to the pros.
Yes, sir, he went to the pros.
Yeah, right. And you had Bonnie Chavis.
Bonnie Chavis went to the pros.
15 years.
Yes, sir.
So there were Walker
Broncos.
and those fellas. They were from down there. But it was a good ride. I saw a lot of kids develop themselves, and they went on to live a quality life, and I thought that was good. Yes.
But see, you've had a hand in our lives in so many ways, and then sometimes it's like dominoes. You impact someone who impacts someone who impacts someone who impacts someone, and it trickles down. And that's one of the things that you've had, the kind of impact, the domino effect. You've had that kind of transitional impact over the ages. And that's why it was a conviction at heart for me to have you here so we can talk. Because I know your heart as a servant, how you desire and aspire to see people living in their niche, maximizing their essence, walking out their identity. Those are things that's always been a staid part of your conversation. Every time I would hear you talk, the motivational aspects always hinged on, do you know who you are? You can't just accept what other people are saying about you. You're better than that.
Be
your best. Go ahead.
And Bishop, and I've always felt that way.
Yes, sir.
And I really articulated that the way you are right now when I was younger. So
yes. Oh, no.
So,
that's the other thing. And I'm going to stop interrupting. I'm going to let him talk, y'all. But one of the things that that was so admirable for me, now, you may not know this. One of the things, first of all, I admired about Jesse Jackson. I wasn't so, it's not the politics. I love the way he represented himself in his articulation skills, his ability, and you honestly were the closest thing to it. It pushed me. I spent hours. I have this huge Britannica law. We're not going to make this about me. These encyclopedias of all kind and these dictionaries, and I would literally spend hours studying so that I can increase or broaden my veracity, so I'd be able to articulate and not. And you used to say this. If you find yourself in situations where you can't represent yourself, go study. Don't accept, you had your own way of addressing it, but you would never allow your audience to be complacent about growth. And as a young man, I would hear that. You don't realize probably no single individual throughout the CSRA has had that kind of impact on me like William Clyburn.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm so proud of that. And again, I've got to get back to feeling emotional about it, especially when I hear it from you. And this is why, Bishop, you know much more about this than I do. But I wish you would even spread bigger, because I want people to know what it means to put forth a real effort and to believe and to not be criticized out of what you believe in strongly. And I cannot think of anyone, national or locally, who communicates that more clearly than Bishop Bush.
Wow.
And so, and that's why I'm over here today. I have some issues, but I thought this was a bigger thing to do at this moment, and I can go back to my challenges. But right now, it's important to me that you should communicate to more of an audience, because I think it will help the kids.
You put that challenge on me as a teenager, and you almost drew me into politics. you didn't know how close you came. I was just uncertain. I just wasn't sure that that was something that I wanted to do. I was already running from God. I'd already been a servant since age 14 in the ministry. You were a part of that and don't even realize it. I don't know if you remember, you actually put me to preach at age 14 at Valley Fair Baptist Church in one of your rallies,
Isn't that
man.
amazing?
And yes, sir, you don't realize how much of an initiator you have been in my life. And that's why I always say, when I would come by the house sometime and visit with you and your lovely wife, Beverly, and sit down, you may not, because sometimes I would visit and it would be just her, and you don't know this, but she would treat me like mom, and she was like so much like mom to me. I told her one time, I said, you remind me so much of my mother. They had so many similar ways. And she and I would sit at your dining room table, and she would always put these demands on me, these motherly demands on me.
These things, don't you?
Man, please, do I remember it? I would swing by there sometimes on my way from the church or something, or from a choir practice or something, and she would always take the time to talk with me as well, whether you were home or not. And I can remember some days, even when I'd be there, and you come in the house, and I was sitting there, and you may not even remember, and I'd be already sitting down to the table talking with her.
Yes.
So you know.
But is it known that you are now? People don't have to believe me.
Yes, sir.
But you have the talent of. I tell you, do they know you are an artist? That you.
Yes, sir.
So that's known.
Yes, sir. Well, I actually, my art now. My art is in 4, 5, 6 countries.
Wow.
I have.
Can you say something about that?
Sir?
Can you say? Well, if you don't want to say it now, we can talk about it later.
We're gonna keep this about you. But again, let's say it like this. I can fix it like this. Someone like yourself always motivated me to be my maximum me. And if I ever needed motivation, whether you realize it or not, I've sat in the halls of Congress without you knowing I was there in Columbia. And I watched you be the same person fighting for issues. And you would, I'm serious, you would approach the mic and with that same aura, consistently demanding that the state hear you, because you had concerns about the community that were in your conviction that you weren't going to let go until something was done about it. And so those little things, man, when I was younger, they really spoke to me. I would drive all the way from New Ellington. Then when I moved to Aiken, I would drive all the way from Aiken. And sometimes I would be hesitant to make you aware that I was there because I didn't want to distract you. And sometimes I just didn't know whether it was wise to do it because I hadn't already informed you about it. But I'd be just there to observe myself so that I would know what I'm talking about when I'm up trying to motivate people. And so, yes, sir, I'm an artist, but again, just having someone in your life that mentors you from a distance, and you can see that image and consistently be motivated to be your best, was very, very much a contribution to the success of who I am as a professional artist. I have a lot of pieces. I've done probably somewhere between 1,500, 1,600 portraits.
Wow.
Yes, sir. I haven't done any art in the last 3 years, maybe a little bit longer. People say, what in the world are you doing? I've got a backlog of clientele, a list of hundreds of people. I burn out, you know what I mean, in a way that as long as it was a pleasure and a joy, I did it. I didn't do it for the money. I did it because I love seeing people more impressionable on the canvas. And I could do that because I have a gift called aesthetic awareness. But I love serving. and I love touching, and I love watching people maximize their excellence just like you do. That's why this was always so important to me. I'm telling you, man, you just don't know. I mean, I know we're humanoids on planet Earth, but there's such a thing as having a close-up impact from a distant stay. And that's what you've had in my life from day to day.
Well, I tell you, I'm so proud of that. You're also a motivator, too.
Well, you know what? You're a motivator.
Well, I try to be.
You are, that's what I'm saying. Your speeches were always motivational. And I don't know if people would actually give you the acclaim, honor, and reverence that's owed you. But I wanted to see to it that you get it.
Yes.
Yes, because it's not just me, it's a lot of us. Many of us have been impacted by the straits of your service. And this is how we say, thank you, man.
Well, I appreciate that so much. And, you know, you mentioned something earlier that a lot of people don't know. You know, we don't just do work right here in Aiken, and sometimes we are called to D.C. to say things that hopefully will promulgate across the country. But all in all, you know, it's about your locality. It's about the people you know, and it's about the struggles and the troubles that you work with, and you do that with the best of your ability. You really try hard, and you never give up on it. And the thing that motivates me more than anything, Bishop, and that is to see someone out there trying, and someone who believe that they're going to get there, and still understanding that because all dreams don't come true, doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue it.
There you go. I love that. Because all dreams don't come true does not mean you should not pursue it. See, there it is. I knew you were going to drop a nugget somewhere. Let me ask you this. So what I want to do for just a moment, because you mentioned that sometimes you have to go abroad as much as just local here. Most of us know you're local. But I want to talk about in the next segment, just for a few minutes, I'm going to keep you here just one more segment. I know your time is very, very streamlined and valuable. But I want to talk some about the impact that you have, both local and national, or international to some degree in some areas. But then also, I want to bring this thing back to where even today, we're under a situation where this government is constantly changing, and these things that's happening in our society, a lot of us are constantly trying to figure out what to do next. And this thing is going deeper than just party lines. Now, all of a sudden, there's so much divisiveness in politics that's obvious that it seems like it's getting the best of us, and it's motivating the society in the wrong way. I just want us to try to iron out just a little bit of that wrinkle.
Right, and that's a great question. You know, I am a state representative for the state of South Carolina. We have congressmen from here. Congressman Clyburn, as an example, is from the 6th district, which covers Charleston
and that's your cousin.
Right. And we communicate all the time about trying to figure out how to make life a little better for all of us. And Bishop, you know, through the years, it's always been a lot of effort of trying to get people to participate, to be involved, and to vote. I mean, that means so much. Right now, Bishop, we are in some trying times locally and nationally as far as minorities are concerned, because we feel like there's some pushback of where we were trying to go, and some pushbacks on our accomplishments. And, you know, the evidence out there is that if you look at the cutbacks and you look at the educational drawbacks, you know, we're not in a position to give up on assistance and having programs cut out.
Yes, sir.
And we ought to be concerned about that. We can't just sit back and think about it and wish it you know, you got to get out there and you got to participate. Nobody's going to beat you over the head now that we know of if you take a few minutes and go and vote, because that makes a difference, you know, of who get in positions to serve you. And right now, things just don't look as good as we would like for them to look.
You know something, and we're gonna take a little brief break because I wanna say this. My grandsons, this last election, I had two of my grandsons who voted for a couple of years now. When they went to the booth this time, there was an apparent loss of their name and their status. They were told to go to another district. They went there to vote. And when they got there, they had no reference to them as also. I want to tell you what happened in that, how it ended, when we come back in just a moment, because you're just the person to help me address that, because their vote never was counted. And that needs to be addressed. We'll be back in just a moment. I am here with the Honorable State Representative of South Carolina, the one and only William Clyburn. God bless you. I'll be back in just a moment.
You kidding?